Brittney Griner's detention in Russia. The WNBA star, an Olympic gold medalist, was back in court on Tuesday. She arrived holding pictures, two of them, one of her wife, Sherelle, and the other of her teammates, who she called her best friends. During Tuesday's session, Griner's legal team continued to present evidence and testimony regarding her possession of a vape cartridge containing cannabis oil, this time focusing on the medicinal use of cannabis by athletes all around the globe. The doctor testified that cannabis was widely used to treat athletes' sports injuries where it is legal. Her defense also presented the results of a drug test Griner took upon her detention that came back negative, with the doctor saying that suggests Griner didn't use cannabis regularly, as traces of the drug would likely be found in frequent users for up to a month after use. Ultimately, Griner's legal team appears to be walking a very fine line, highlighting the medicinal use of cannabis in the world of sports while also maintaining that Griner brought the drug into Russia by complete accident.
We took it here as a medicine. We are still saying that she involuntarily brought it here because she was in a rush, as she said, packing, and this medication, she just forgot to take it out of her luggage. That's it. But the Russian public has to know, and the Russian court in the first place has to know that it was not used for recreational purposes in the United States. It was prescribed by a doctor and used in accordant way.
And she's expected to testify for the very first time on Wednesday. It's unclear how long her trial will last, but the court has authorized her detention until December the 20th. The slow-moving nature of her trial, plus her already 5-month-long detention, has ramped up pressure on the Biden administration to do a lot more to get her out of there. And that's not just coming from Griner's family or athletes or even political figures. It's also coming from people who have been in her exact same position, her shoes. Trevor Reed, a former Marine, spent more than 2 years in a Russian jail before he was released in a prisoner swap back in April. He told NBC's Hallie Jackson that the U.S. could be doing more to free both Griner and American Paul Whelan.
I can't say 100% what the White House is or is not doing. That's obviously not public information, but in my opinion, the White House has the ability to get them out extremely fast, and they clearly have chosen not to do that. So no, in my opinion, they're not doing enough.
So great to see his face, given that we had his parents on the show a while back. Joining us now and starting us off, Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Her district includes much of Houston, which is where Griner is from. It's her hometown. Congresswoman, first of all, thank you so much for joining today. Oh, I think you're on mute. I'm unable to hear you, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, perfection. Thank you so much for being here. Do you still have faith that the Biden administration is going to be able to bring Brittney Griner home safely?
Well, thank you again. My faith is mixed with outrage. My faith is that I've always emphasized that the nation is sovereign and that every citizen should have the power of the most powerful nation behind them. And that means the United States. I know that they can do what Trevor Reed just said, is to get both Brittney, BG, out now, and as well Paul Whelan. And I think today is an example of how the Russians are really playing games. They're talking about detaining her until December. If you do believe in justice and you believe in facts and you believe in a defense, her defense have made it very clear. It was a mistake. And it was an infinitesimal amount anyhow. But this is tied to the Russian war in Ukraine. It is tied to the embarrassment that Russia experienced at the Olympics when they were charged with doping. And so here's an innocent person coming to play basketball as she's done for 7 years. And all of a sudden she's in the claws of this unjust legal system. And I hope everyone can see your video. She is in a cage. And she is in a cage when she is brought to the court. How often does that happen? So what we are pushing and what we are hearing is that the negotiations are going full speed ahead. It's only Russia that has to make the decision and to move forward.
Days, I expect to speak with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov for the first time since the war began. I plan to raise an issue that's a top priority for us: the release of Americans Paul Whelan and Brittany Griner.
The long-awaited release could come at the cost of a high-value prisoner to the U.S. To get both of them back, the president has signed off on a trade. Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan for a notorious Russian arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death. That man's name is Victor Bout. He is currently serving 25 years here in the U.S. on terrorism charges.
Of course, the trade is not a new idea, but now it's gaining support from the State Department as well as the president. Paul Whelan's a Canadian-American, but he's been in a Russian prison since 2018 after being convicted of spying. Brittany Griner, of course, has been in a Russian jail since February after being arrested at the airport in Moscow on drug charges. The U.S. says both have been wrongfully detained. Griner has pleaded guilty but has yet to be sentenced. To finalize the deal, Russia says they must first finalize that trial. As far as Bout, he's a former Soviet military officer and a translator as well, who was convicted in 2011 of giving guns to terrorist groups as well as conspiring to kill American citizens. If the trade does in fact happen, this would be the second one done by the Biden administration this year. It was back in April that Trevor Reed was traded for Konstantin Yaroshenko, who is halfway through a 20-year sentence for conspiring to bring $100 million worth of cocaine into the United States.